Xenophobia and violence against foreigners is an ugly reality in South Africa. And yet, the borders of most African countries were drawn up by European colonizers. The Transvaal Republic, Rhodesia, the Belgian Congo. I mean, the names have changed, but the divisions remain. As South Africans, we're hostile towards Africans who come here. We deny them their rights and blame them for our problems. And yet, we were once all migrants. So why do we discriminate? With me to discuss this are Mandla Madumisa, Chief Director of Asylum Seekers and Refugee Management in the Department of Home Affairs, Roshan Dadu from the Consortium for Refugees and Migrants in South Africa, Kennedy Gahana, an immigration lawyer who himself was a refugee from Rwanda, Mary Tal from the Whole World Women Association, Neso Mendoso from the coordinating body of the refugee and migrant communities, and Richard Otts, Chief of Mission for the International Organization for Migration in South Africa. Judge Navi Pillay, who authored a report into the 2015 xenophobic attacks in KZN. And we'd also like to welcome the Paramount Chief of Africa, Francis K. Nwaneri. In the audience, we have people from Nigeria, from Somalia, from the DRC, from Zimbabwe, and many other countries on this amazing continent. And oh yes, we also have some South Africans too. Welcome to you all. And you at home can also have your say on Facebook and on Twitter. But before we talk about migration and human rights, take a look at this.
Johannesburg, the place of gold, built on the labour of migrants from across southern Africa. As the richest city on the continent, people still stream here looking for a better life. This is Little Mogadishu near the Joburg CBD. Malyun Al-Farha fled here with her 4 children in 2015. They made the treacherous journey from Somalia to Mozambique by boat. From there, they walked to South Africa.
inta nabadgelyo aanu imid nabadgelyadii inta aanu imidna waxa waaye in oo ilmihii ay sharci inta helaan waxbarashadii ay si fiican wax u bartaan.
Malyun rises early to make jugs of tea, which she sells for 6 rand a cup to dawn worshippers at a nearby mosque.
noloshayda waxaan ka raadsadaa subaxdii waxaan soo kacaa 1 o'clock habeenkii 5 o'clock na gurigaan ka soo baxaa mosquega Soomaalida aan ku gadaa.
Malyun has temporary asylum in South Africa. Her children do not. Without documents, they've been denied schooling. Abdi Rahman, who has Down syndrome, can't get medical attention.
Homa Faris waxay tiri 5,000 oo raan bixi ilmaha sharci waa lagu helayaa marka anigana qutulyoonkayga shahana wareejiya irsaaq kale 5,000 rand ma hayo.
According to Richard Otts of the International Organization for Migration, South Africa's law guarantees refugees their socio-economic rights.
The Constitution allows all who live in South Africa the right to basic education and basic health care and freedom of movement. But it does come with its share of problems as well. I'll acknowledge that. It's often that we see that people are being turned away at the door by the doorman, or by the receptionists.
This is the infamous Marabastad Refugee Reception Centre in Pretoria. Throngs of migrants, mostly from Africa, queue for days to be processed. Another class of migrant, the ones with money and so-called critical skills, will never have to experience Marabastad. To its credit, South Africa is revising its migration policy, one it says is more Africa-oriented.
The current white paper has become outdated. The present framework did not view migration in terms of the important economic role it can play in developing our country and contributing towards our economic growth. It also did not deal at all with the reality that South Africa is an African country in Africa.
But will this policy shift change how South Africans feel about migrants? Xenophobia, Afrophobia. South Africans blame migrants for taking their jobs and competing for scarce resources. These social attitudes, together with red tape and administrative bottlenecks, make life very difficult for families like Malyun's.
mustaqbalkayga waxaan rajaynayaa inuu aad iyo aad u soo koro oo u soo fiicnaado marka South Africa homa farista miyaysan xaq ku lahayn ilmahayga inay iskuul aadaan
Mandla, why do we make migrants suffer so much? When refugees are fleeing war and persecution in their own countries, why do they find themselves in places like Marabastad, where it takes months for papers to be processed? How do we remove the pressure from Marabastad and fix the system?
Most of our asylum seekers enter the country through Beitbridge, through our northern borders, and it will be advisable for them to first and foremost, as they enter the country through those northern borders, seek the services there, so that they don't find themselves in the challenges that we're experiencing at Marabastad. We are trying to improve the services at Marabastad, starting with the IT that we are using, because we're using outdated technology. We have changed that successfully.
So do you acknowledge, if I may just interject there, that the result of all of these problems is that we are denying people of their basic human rights?
It is in legislation as well as in convention that you must receive asylum seekers and adjudicate them. That's where the bottleneck is on adjudication.
All right. And I'd like to bring you in here. Navi, according to the Constitution, does everybody have the same right to life, to education, to health, wherever you're from?
Everybody within our borders is entitled to all the rights of the Constitution except the right to vote. And I found in our report, just making that statement was resisted even by those working in municipalities and the province.
And I guess we have to expand on that in the course of this discussion. But Mr. Dosso, then do you think that it's fair for South Africa to want to protect its resources for its own citizens?
And we have to understand the need of both migrants and the locals. As migrants, we recognize that there is a high level of unemployment, and therefore the nationals, the locals, tend to portray or to paint the migrants as those who are picking their job. But we don't think that a migrant should be seen as that, because there are also migrants who are majority, who are bringing in their, and they are willing to also contribute towards the building of this society.
I think let's establish who's a migrant here. So I'd like to know, of all the people who are here in the audience today, who lives in Gauteng? Okay, so I'd like to narrow in on that a little bit. Of those who live in Gauteng, whose families are from elsewhere other than Gauteng, anywhere in South Africa? South Africans first. Okay. Would you stand up for us? What is your name?
My name's Kanya.
Where are you from, Kanya?
I'm from the Eastern Cape. I'm from Port Elizabeth.
And you live in Gauteng?
I reside in Gauteng for the moment.
What do you enjoy about Gauteng?
There's a range of opportunities that are available in Gauteng that wouldn't necessarily be available back in the Eastern Cape. And of course, when you come from the Eastern Cape, you're not only looking to sort of propel yourself forward, but you're also looking to support family members, try and provide opportunities in order to take back skills, necessary skills, back to the Eastern Cape to hopefully develop the Eastern Cape.
That's wonderful. So you're a migrant, actually?
Yes, I can associate myself as a migrant.
All right. Thank you. All right, now that we've established we've got a few migrants here from elsewhere in South Africa, who in this audience is originally from out of South Africa? By show of hands, please. Who lives in South Africa? All right. Jasid. Yes, sir. Where are you from?
I'm from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I'm a child of this region. The sun is my witness. I'm a son of the soil.
Amen.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. South Africa, it is a very exciting place because it is a place that has become the center of exchange, trade. Whether you're a musician, you're a tradesman, you're a singer, you're a writer, you're a poet, or you are a politician, it is a place where people have been coming to seek information, mainly to enhance where they are coming from. But most people who are immigrants, trust me, I think deep down in their hearts, they want to go back home. Whether it is going to be when the war is over or when whatever problem they are facing is going to be over.
All right, thank you so much. Sure. Thank you very much. So will you please stand up for us? Tell me your story. What brings you to South Africa?
What brought me to I came to South Africa in 1995. Yeah, I was a young activist. There was a change of government in Nigeria. I was a field officer of Social Democratic Party, the party that under Abiola, we won an election. I was already marked the day they killed Kudirat Abiola because I was working with her.
You were fleeing political persecution.
Exactly.
All
I
right.
was fleeing political persecution. I came to South Africa. I found refuge in South Africa.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we've pretty much established the fact that it's safe to say most people in this room are migrants because we all come from somewhere. Why do we treat people who come from the Eastern Cape or Limpopo or Venda differently to our brothers and sisters who come from Nigeria, who come from Somalia, who come from Zimbabwe? Ike, let me come to you for a second. So Ike, ladies and gentlemen, is a regular contributor on my show, Power Life, and the station Power FM. You said on a previous show that we did of the big debate that your perspective is that these foreigners mess up in their countries and then come and take advantage of our resources here in South Africa. Do you still feel that way?
I haven't changed my views, and I will tell you why. In 1990, when we expected people to come here in Africa, we expected people with scarce skills to come and contribute and show us things that we did not know. Little did we know that will attract everyone. And most people who come here, they're not refugees because in their countries, they're not fighting. I mean, you can go in the CBD, you've got people, hobos, you've got people who are musicians. We don't need musicians. I mean, we've got an oversupply of musicians. Jasid says he's a musician. I mean, you can't build countries on musicians. We need scientists, we need actuarial science, we need medical doctors.
Isn't it a bit unfair on musicians considering that they are part of the economy?
We've got unemployment in South Africa. I don't see a musician contributing to our unemployment in Soweto. We've got oversupply of musicians.
Ike, my husband is a musician. Ike?
Unfortunately, it's fine. It's fine. Look, if you stop singing, who dies? If you stop acting, who dies?
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. We're going to have to leave it right there. But thank you very much, Ike. You just successfully managed to insult me, my husband, and half of the studio audience. Roshan, what are your perspectives? Because in all fairness, Ike does represent a population in South Africa and a real point of view that exists.
Yes, he does, sadly, but I think that requires us to challenge that point of view. So if we have problems with the way our economy is working or not working for us, I think we should challenge ourselves to challenge our own economic policies. It's not the problem or the fault of people who are coming into the country, because in fact people who come into the country add to our economy. In a survey that was done of around 700 cross-border traders, they add 46 million rand to the economy, and that's 700 people. in 1 year. So do we want to turn away 46 million rand in Joburg? I don't think so. I think that would be bad for our economy. And also, I just wanted to say we shouldn't forget that at one point South Africans were overseas because of the apartheid regime here. I was born to parents who were in exile.
And the same is true for me. I was born in Lusaka in Zambia, for instance, right? My parents are both from Soweto. I've been a migrant my whole life. So, Navi, yes.
Where I agree with Ike is, yes, we have more economic migrants than asylum seekers. And so there have to be policies and action plans to address that. I heard the minister in the clip you showed saying he's going to orient his migration policy towards the continent of Africa. Then it's very crucial that government to government, they address why are people fleeing in fear from those countries to our countries.
Kennedy.
Yes. To have a comment like my brother Aki, saying that the whole continent is here in South Africa, it's not true. When we talk about that the whole continent is here, the immigrants in this country, for the census of 2012, they were 2.2. That includes the refugees and immigrants, so those who are with exceptional skills, the visitors, and everybody who was found in this country in 2012. When we are talking about the refugees, I don't think that we are even 200,000 here in South Africa. They recognize the refugees. No.
Sure. Richard.
Yeah, the idea exists that South Africa is being flooded with migrants from all over the country, from all over the continent. If you look at the actual statistics, like you said, it is absolutely not supported by the facts. And then additionally, we do need to get rid of this perception that migrants are a burden. We've done studies, and a number of organizations have done studies on the economic impact of migration. We found that the rate of entrepreneurship, so the percentage of entrepreneurs among the migrants, is on average twice as high as among South Africans. So migrants are, in fact, first of all, contributing actively to GDP development, and secondly, to job creation. Many of these migrants employ 5, 6 people, and many of those are South Africans. And I think that undermines this whole concept that migrants come here to leech of society, to take advantage of society. No, they're actively contributing to the development of the country.
All right.
And I think that is important.
Thank you. When we come back, some haunting melodies from Nigeria and some more stories from across the continent. Don't go away.
Ẹ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ má ṣe pè sọ́mọ yín. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ má ṣe pè sọ́mọ yín o. Ẹ dákun ẹ má fi pè sọ́mọ yín. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ má ṣe pè sọ́mọ yín o. Ohun tí ẹ bá sọ ló máa di lọ́la. Ìṣe tí ẹ ṣe sí ló máa wò lọ́la. Thank you.
Welcome back to the big debate on immigration and the rights of refugees and migrants. I'm Masachaba Ndlovu, and that was a migrant muso from Nigeria, the soulful Femi Koya. Come on in here, Femi. That was amazing. That was amazing. Femi, what is it like being a Nigerian living in South Africa?
Well, I'm still a Nigerian.
Do you experience any of the prejudice? Because, I mean, we all know that there's a stigma attached to being Nigerian in some cases.
Well, yes, there is, but you need to know who you are. And whatever people say, you still be who you are. For me, and the things that I've experienced is you need to understand where the people, the locals are coming from, and the foreigners also, you need to understand where they're coming from, because us as human beings, we all are migrants.
How does it make you feel, I guess, when you hear sentiments such as that of Ike's? I mean, Ike doesn't
I was actually laughing and I thought, well, maybe you could get a South African to sing in Yoruba. I don't know how that's going to sound. But if I live in South Africa and I sing in my language, I think I'm adding something. In what I do, I employ about 6 South Africans in my band. And if you pay me, I pay those South Africans as well. I have a company called Femzi Production, Kola Not Music. I record South African musicians as well.
Thank you very much for creating employment.
Thank you.
Power to you. Thank you. All right, so now I want to talk about a case that we've seen in our film. I want to talk to Maliyun from Somalia, who came to South Africa in 2015 with her 4 children after her husband was brutally murdered in Somalia. She managed to get refugee status, but her children have no legal documents. She was offered documents in return for a bribe. Let's meet Maliyun and her children. Stand up for me, please, Maliyun, and the children. You're Maliyun's translator. What is your name, sir? Amir?
Amir.
Please stand up for me, Amir. Thank you very much for coming. So, firstly, are your children in school yet?
sababta waxa waaye ilmihii sharci ma haystaan iskuulkii markaan tagay wasaaradda waxbarashada waxaa la yiri beeba islaamka keen marka ilmihii clinic ma geyn karo isbitaal ma geyn karo iskuulna ma geyn karo ilmihii guriga ii joogaan.
Okay, her kids are currently actually in the house. She cannot take them to schools. She cannot take them to clinic. They do not have access to healthcare and education. The fact that they do not have actually documentation. The mother is actually having a Section 22 permit, which means she is an asylum seeker in the country. And due to lacks of documentation of the children, they are denied their basic rights, which is rights to education and rights to healthcare.
Before we speak to Manja, I'd like to just meet your kids for a second. Is that okay? All right, I'll start with you. What is your name, honey?
Mohsen Abdelkader.
Okay. And what would you like to be when you grow up?
A doctor.
A doctor. Round of applause for him. Thank you. Thank you very much. And what's your name?
Jafar Abdelkader.
Okay. You're the strong, silent type. What would you like to be when you grow up?
Doctor.
You'd also like to be a doctor and heal our sick nation. Thank you. Round of applause for him. Your son, give me his name.
Abdurrahman.
Has Down syndrome, and you've struggled to get access to healthcare for him.
Abdurrahman special school.
Doctor.
You would like to be a doctor?
Yes.
A round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tell me about what happened when you tried to get access to your whoa, there's one more daughter. Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
Dosa Abdelkader.
Dosa.
Yes.
And what is your dream? What would you like to become?
I would like to become a pilot.
A pilot. Hey now. These are real children with real dreams. They're human beings entitled to rights like all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're not going to leave it there because, I mean, Mandla, these are the real issues on the ground. What is Maliyun to do? I mean, surely if she's a mother with refugee status, her children should automatically get papers.
It is cases like these that fall into crack because as we keep emphasizing that almost plus 80% of the population that we receive in our refugee reception offices are economic migrants. As a result, that 20% or so find themselves in cracks like this because we are preoccupied in trying to process people that should not be there in the first place. Now that I know about it, I will get the details, we will work on it, and we will find solutions.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. Thank you. Thank you. Navi, how common is it for this problem to happen where people are denied, refugees even, asylum seekers, denied access to education, denied access to healthcare? Why does this happen?
You know, first let me say the whole world admires our policies on migration. Really, Europe should look at the way South Africa is doing it. It's a humane policy. We comply with all the international standards, but that's not going to make that family happy. You know, children have an absolute right to health. That's absolute. I would like to see as an immediate step that the authorities inform all schools, all clinics and hospitals, that it's unlawful to insist on identification. You just have to treat people and admit children.
Thank you very much. Kennedy, you are indeed confirming this.
Yes, it is true. If a refugee or asylum seeker or any migrant, even if he is not documented, he finds himself or herself in a situation where her health or his health is in danger, has to go straight to the hospital and to the nearest medical facilities. And there is no law which says that that person, in order to be treated, must have a document. You treat that person and ask a document after.
All right. So Mandla, can we do what Navi has suggested, that, you know, it is our duty to inform the education facilities, the hospitals, that actually all human beings have the same right to life, to health, and to education?
We do that. We inform our sister departments at provincial level, at national level, and local government level. However, as I say, it's one thing to inform, and it's another to enforce. And we do not have jurisdictions to enforce.
The truth of the matter is that it's almost as if the educators, the healthcare providers, not all of them, but the reality on the ground is that it's as if it's kept a secret. It's not communicated to asylum seekers or refugees or anyone who needs to access that service.
We have communicated the message, but we still find these cases. All we do for now is to then go to that particular case and resolve it.
All right, Mary, I'd like to bring you in here just for a second. I mean, you're from the Whole World Women's Association. What is the difficulty of the situation that Maliad and many other women find themselves in?
Thank you so much for that question. I think that is the core of the organization that I work for, to bring voices like hers. These women have not been created enough spaces to express themselves, to talk about their children. And we have to recognize that as migrants and refugees are coming in, within this are women and children, women who do not have husbands, whose husbands have been killed elsewhere or killed in South Africa. I think that South Africa is the best place for refugee women to organize and demand their rights, because it is only when she tells her story there is a solution. Absolutely. So we're asking for the Home Affairs Department, for the Health Department to create spaces for women. We at Whole World Women's Association, we recognize that South African women and their children suffer the same challenges. They try and create spaces, and we work with these women together to promote our rights as refugee and migrant women.
Thank you very much. So, yes, that definitely deserves a round of applause. So after the show, we are going to bring Mandla and Malyun together. Mandla, I'd like to put you on the spot here. What is the turnaround time for Malyun's children to get the right papers?
It's the same day.
The same day. Round of applause. Yes. When we return, a rapper from Hammersdale in KZN using his music to fight xenophobia. You're watching The Big Debate.
Mama mama's getting worried, cause I am never home. I'm busy making plans with South Kid, my bro. We're trying to share the continent together, cause it's ours. If you treat each other fairly, we won't fall like the towers. Oh Lord, oh Africa, I hope you can hear me. Why don't you give a hand if I'm trying to make a living? I'm begging, my Africa, let's all sit down. Cause somebody explain to me what this issue is about. And I hope you all know it's not necessary, right? This goes out to everybody in Africa, let's unite.
Thank you. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the big debate. That was Bongani Ngai, a rapper from Hammarsdale in KZN, a place that's seen its fair share of victimization of migrants by South Africans with xenophobia, and where King Goodwill Zwelithini called on foreigners to return to their own countries. Thank you very much for that inspiring piece. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to come to Promise. Tell us about your book. I mean, you wrote a book called The Greatest Tragedy of My Time, Xenophobia in My Motherland. So what prompted you to write this book?
I was just so horrified to the point of being hospitalized with major depression in 2008 because I did not understand what was going on in my motherland. I had to rewind the tapes to the time when I left this country to swell the ranks of fighting forces in exile at the age of 14 and a half, close to 15. And on the other side of the border, it was Africa that welcomed me. I don't want to go into the details with how Africa treated us. What prompted me to actually publish this book in 2015 was when xenophobia, Afrophobia, or whatever the hell you call it, you know, when it reared its ugly head again in 2015, I said, not on my watch, not again. It is not okay to be going around calling people abomakwerekwer. It is not okay to be banning people.
Promise Kumalo, my mother.
Thank you.
Let's talk some more about solutions. What can we do in a practical way to avert xenophobia?
One of the issues that we have grappled with in South Africa is lack of accountability for crimes against humanity. And if you want to tackle the issue of xenophobia seriously, you need to craft laws that reflect the gravity of those crimes as hate crimes. We can't, on the one hand, protect dictators at a SADC or African Union or a United Nations platform. Then cry foul when that same country, as is happening in Zimbabwe, Burundi, and many other countries, when that country now produces millions of refugees to neighboring countries. We can't. We need first to deal with the fundamentals, defend democracy at those forums, criticize those who manipulate citizens for their own ends in those countries. We also need to say, when we say Ubuntu, we really mean that. We shouldn't just pay lip service to issues of Ubuntu and the removal of artificial colonial boundaries when we are not in essence serious about it. What do we mean by the removal and free movement of people within the region? We should practice what we preach.
I actually come here because I'm so fond of Pan-Africanism. And for me, I think if you need to really deal with this problem, let's root it out. This is a colonized problem, for which is particularly indoctrination. If black people have been taught to hate themselves and self-destruct, then it becomes a problem when you have to address xenophobia before you actually re-educate a black man. So I think there needs to be more re-educational programs.
All right. Thank you so much.
Here, South Africans, our fellow South Africans are complaining about these foreigners, but I call them our brothers. They came here and commit crime. If we don't give them the right to education, what alternative do they have? We must grant them their right to education so that they can contribute to the economy.
Very powerful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Solution I see is what we do practically. We hate one another because we do not know one another. And the only way at least you can know me is actually to extend a hand, and I extend a hand, and we know one another. The dividing factor between us is mostly myth and misconceptions. Zimbabweans are bank robbers, Mozambicans actually are doing all car hijack. All Nigerians are drug addicts or drug dealers or peddlers. These are the issues that at least most of us are taking into consideration. But we have got hundreds or thousands of actually Nigerians who are spinning the wheel of these great nations. So extend a hand of me and let's start from this program and we know one another. The second thing is that we are running projects that are empowering local community. And we have got a lot of positive stories that we can highlight. Do not only say that the one coming from Somalia is only come to take my business, but we are also building a society that is positive, that knows one another, an integrated, socially cohesive society. Amandla.
Amandla! Thank you. When we return, we look for solutions. You're watching The Big Debate. Welcome back to The Big Debate on Migration. So migrants in South Africa have the same rights as South African citizens. Migrants bring skills, they bring benefits to our economy. So why do we continue to treat them so badly? And how can we change the system and change our mindsets? What do you think?
If people that's in Gauteng go back home, everybody, I think Gauteng will be empty. So it's not just a matter of whether you're an inland migrant or a cross-border migrant. The bottom line is we need to change our mindset, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all come for the same thing. If you're not willing to take the opportunity, that is your own decision. But do not crucify other people if they want to improve their lives. We need to learn to know each other. And it doesn't matter what policies, everything can be put into place. But at the end of the day, it's about me and you being one another's neighbor. I need to know my neighbor. I need to love my neighbor, irrespective.
I would like to start by apologizing to my fellow African brothers and sisters. And I do this on behalf of all the young South Africans. First and foremost, all we're seeing right now is end results of what has been happening and being ignored. So let's not stop treating the symptoms, which is, for example, sorry, but Braak, that's a symptom. His mentality is a symptom. It's a stereotypical manner that we as young people have been taught to see things. We are told that a foreigner is here to take. We are told that there's things such as foreigners. We're forgetting that humanity, in my personal opinion, is see myself in you, you my brother, you are not a foreigner. So first and foremost, let's acknowledge the fact that we were once there. We were once those very people that ran to our African brothers for help. Let's not be ignorant, young people. Let's remember where we come from, because if you know where you come from, you are looking at the bright future.
Practical solution. We are talking of migrants and human rights. And migrants, when they come into the country, the first thing for their human rights to be fully recognized is to be documented. We cannot divorce my documentation process in South Africa to the human rights implications in South Africa. The solution I'm urging, pleading with the authorities, not to divorce these two things.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. Who is a foreigner? There is no foreigner in African continent. There is no diaspora in African continent. We all one mother, one father, we from one roof. It's xenophobia nonsense. It is rubbish. We do not kill our own brothers and sisters. We're busy being used by the Western colonial masters to say that our brothers and sisters are foreigners, are kwerekweres, are this and that. It's nothing. It can lead us to nowhere. It is a mere barrier. Say with me, it's a barrier. It's a barrier. And it has to be broken. The time has come. As the paramount chief of Africa, I have traveled all African countries. I have spoken to all African ambassadors here in South Africa. I am proud to say that all of them are happy. All of them are even coming together for the royalties of Africa to stand on their foot at this very point in time to state and say that the government of Africa comes and go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank Thank you very much. Thank you. After the break, a final word from our panel. Welcome back to the big debate. Let's hear it from our panel. Mr. Dosso, very briefly.
Thank you. In terms of solution, I think we had solutions. In 2001, when we came from the World Congress Against Xenophobia and Racism, Professor Kada Asmal, the Minister of Education, has already issued a memorandum, a circular, to all schools in 2001, informing them that everyone has access to education. Unfortunately, all these rights have been eroded. So it is important that Home Affairs comes again. I'm very hopeful because I have seen Chief Mandla speaking very proactively, that we go back and restore this practice. If we practice that, then we'll try to reduce the burden.
Thank you very much. Navi.
Do you know what xenophobia means? It means hatred of the other. Now, all the investigations we did in KZN, the National Human Rights Commission, Foundation for Human Rights, we all found South Africans don't hate migrants and asylum seekers. In fact, they receive them into their townships. They help them during the attacks. Where migrants and asylum seekers are attacked, that's a crime. So that must be punished. So I think we should stop using this sensational media word about xenophobic violence.
So it's criminal.
Yes.
We as Home Affairs, we are running a protection regime. We receive, and before we exclude, we include. And therefore, it is important that for us to be able to operate in that space, we work with our stakeholders. We work with neighboring countries to ensure that they do not bring people who are not persons of concern, not necessarily bringing them, but people who are not people of concern do not come to this regime, because what then happens is cases like those fall into crack because we are redirecting our resources, our capacity into people who should not be getting protection. So we need engagement as the region, as Sub-Saharan Africa, as civil society, as all stakeholders that are involved to make sure that South Africa, with the capacity to safeguard international protection, does just that with the resources we have.
Thank you very much.
There's a green paper on migration that is now out for public comments. Anyone can send in comments on policy papers, and I really think would urge everyone to have a look at that and to send in comments, because I think there are lots of good things in there, but also a lot of things that we think are going to create additional challenges. And one of them relates to documentation. We can see that people have no hope of accessing their rights and the services that are due to them if they don't have documentation. So we need in the migration policy to find ways to enable people to have documentation, not just to say, well, all these numbers of people are not really asylum seekers. We don't know that until they make their claim, and then it's our duty or the duty of our government to make a fair decision. But what we can do is enable people to get documented if they are coming here for other reasons. Cross-border trader permits has been mentioned in this paper. SADC citizens, there's a facilitation of movement of persons protocol that isn't enforced because not enough countries in SADC have signed and ratified, which would mean we could all, and that means South Africans can also access opportunities in other countries too. So we're able to move around in a safe way and an orderly way and a way that goes through regular borders, because no one is illegal.
Thank you.
And we must never feel that people's human rights should be curtailed because if I have rights, everyone else should have rights too, and they don't suddenly disappear when you cross the border.
Thank you very much.
South Africa must play the big brother role on the continent and stop these dictators from causing the conflict in their countries so that the people can stay in their countries. Secondly, I think the Home Affairs need to go to the ground to educate people on the townships, how the immigrants can be productive and can contribute to the economy of this country, like Canada, Australia, and America.
Thank you. Mary.
I think that we should listen carefully and pay attention to people like Mr. Ike and the group that he represents. For me, my plea is to create more opportunities, to give leaders like him opportunities to learn about all the good things that can happen if we understand each other. Second of all, I think that women and children refugees need specific attention, and more platforms and opportunities should be created to listen to their stories and to change their lives. I also want to add just the last thing. Each family that takes their child across the border is to improve the future of that child. What is the future of a refugee child in South Africa? I rest my case.
Thank you. Richard.
3 very brief points. First of all, the history of migration is the history of mankind. We have moved around as long as mankind exists. And migration predates the concept of the nation state. Migration will survive the concept of the nation state. Migration will continue to exist as long as people are on this earth. Second point, on xenophobia. What is the solution to xenophobia? First of all, it's important to identify what are the root causes. So part of that is feelings of indeed xenophobia, but part of it is simply opportunism, people taking advantage of the breakdown of rule of law to enrich themselves with impunity. And then the third one is people being frustrated with the lack of service delivery, particularly in the townships and the informal settlements, the lack of service delivery by the government, jobs, education, healthcare. Those issues need to be addressed, and that, I think, is at the root of the friction between host communities and migrant communities.
Thank you very much. During the struggle, South Africans took refuge in neighboring countries. Even today, millions of South Africans seek opportunities overseas. Are we willing to treat those who arrive here, especially fellow Africans, as we would like to be treated elsewhere? Is there the political will to give migrants their rights? You decide. From me, Masachaba Ndlovu, thank you for watching The Big Debate.